Hi, I'm here with Tom of the lovely Charleston One Source Flooring Company. How are you today?
I'm doing fine, Meredith. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being part of the home show.
Absolutely.
So tell me a bit about the flooring you all provide.
Well, we've been around. Charleston One Source has been here for about 10 years or so, and we specialize in custom hardwood floors. We're either solid or engineered, a lot of wide plank floors. Do items such as walnut, cherry, antique heart pine, antique barnwoods, and then also some specialty woods that are European oaks that have different specialty finishes and features to them.
Well, so I know you guys just had your 10-year anniversary on the 15th of this month.
Yes. We started out in 2005, and of course we went the first few years were great years, and then we kind of rode out the storm for a few years, but building has come back fast and furious here in Charleston. We've got our mills that are working just as hard as they were 10 years ago. So it's good to see that home building is back to where it once was.
Well, and we're so glad that you were able to make it through that unfortunate storm, as you called it. I love hearing that.
Yes.
But and hope you guys are around for at least 10 more years. So tell me a bit about like antique versus new flooring and...
Well, a couple options when it comes to hardwood floors. Of course, antique woods are most commonly milled down from beams. We do have options perhaps with barnwood beams, which would primarily going to be oaks and some other species. Or if they're coming from textile mills, warehouses, factories, etc., a lot of those are going to be antique heart pine. And the reason for that is that you could get nice long lengths out of it, and it was a very, very hard, durable wood. Most of the antique heart pine came from here in the south, and then was dispersed throughout the country, primarily into the northeast, and then some of that going over to England. So that some of your best heart pine came from the south up to New York, New Jersey, etc., and then it's finding its way back here. So there's a journey involved, and it kind of tracks the industrial age there of America.
Well, and so obviously you really know your flooring. So fill me in, engineered versus solid. What's the differences there?
Well, the differences have to do with the construction of the material. A solid wood floor is going to be the same material all the way through. These days, most of the time, it's going to be 3/4 of an inch thick. Although depending on the circumstances, you may need an inch thick, especially if it's for an old home that didn't have a subfloor in which the floor was nailed directly onto the joists. But there are other variations available. The engineered floor is a real wood floor. It is the same material that you would have in a solid, but it is a thinner piece of it. So it may be around 1/4 inch or less thick. So about 1/3 the material that you see that's on top. Properly done, you shouldn't be able to tell the difference between a solid and a engineered floor just by looking at it if it's sanded and finished on site. And then the backer for that is sometimes either plywood or it's a 3-piece construction, and that's meant to mechanically restrict the floor from, or the top layer of wood from shrinking and swelling with the seasons.
Well, and that's very important here in Charleston with our humidity, our precipitation. So you find the same kind of, certain woods are more...
Well, it depends on what type of material that you're looking at and the inherent qualities of the wood. You kind of two things to look at. One would be the hardness, and we all know, resistance to denting or dinging and things like that. But just as important is going to be the wood stability or its resistance to shrinking and swelling over time. Engineered wood is one way to attempt to restrict that shrinking and swelling by mechanical means. It's adhering it to a plywood substrate. But with solid wood floors, there is some woods will shrink and swell more than others. Walnut, cherry, antique heart pine are known to be very stable woods. Then when you get up to hickories and maples and things like that, those tend to really have a lot of movement during the year. So it's important to know the qualities of the wood, not only the hardness, but it's the stability of it. And then it's determined by what kind of house it's going into as to whether a solid or an engineered is the right floor for you. And it really comes down to the individual environment that is going to be installed There's no blanket recommendation as to which is better, solid or engineered.
Well, and so obviously people really need to know, all these facts, get in with an expert like yourself, and really find out what they need and what will work with their design, correct?
It does help to talk to somebody and kind of begin your search and take a look at some options. And we're happy to talk with anyone at any time about their wood floors.
Great. Well, Steve, how can people get in touch with you if they're needing this revamp or putting in a new house?
You could contact us online. Our website is charleston1source.com. And then you could also drop by our showroom, which is at 826C Coleman Boulevard in Mount Pleasant. Our phone number is 843-278-1751.
All right. Well, thanks so much for speaking with me. We really appreciate you being part of the show.
Absolutely.
All right.